to the podium? Okay. I'm a little bit of a walker arounder. So my name is Sara Bieber. I'm an ESM3 with DOLWD and under the cloak of the great SOA. And the sphere I operate in is WIOA. Everybody understand? Thank you for having me. No, just kidding. Some of the things we're here to do today is get rid of some misnomers, share silver linings, and so on. So again, my name is Sara Bieber. I'm the Gulf Coast Regional Manager, housed at the Peninsula Job Center, which serves as a hub for our region. Any technological errors that take place today, I'm going to blame on Caitlin since I'm first up, but hopefully everything will work. I got you. And here we go. Okay, there we go. It's just a little bit of a delay, and I apologize. I clicked too many times. Okay, Caitlin, now we might legit have issues. Oh, there we go. I just want to introduce you to the region really briefly. The Peninsula Job Center serves as a hub for the region, which extends all the way from Valdez down to Kodiak. And the job centers that serve the Kenai Peninsula are the Peninsula Job Center and the Homer Job Center. Within the region, 4 job centers. Our mission is to advance opportunities for employment and economic stability. As I mentioned, Valdez, Homer, Kodiak, and Kenai are where our job centers are housed. And just to give you an introduction to the 2 job centers that serve the Kenai Peninsula, we have the Peninsula Job Center located in the Old Cars Mall in Kenai. Except for the Southern Peninsula and Kachemak Bay, we serve communities on the Kenai Peninsula from Whittier south to Ninilchik. After that, Homer Job Center takes over. We are co-located with Public Assistance and Mature Alaskans Seeking Skills Training, what we call the MAST program. We have career support and training services with a full-time staff and employment service technicians that operate in the resource room, our business connection staff that is dedicated to employer services, and also we have different titles that we operate under, as I mentioned before, what we call affectionately WIOA, the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. Since our job center is bigger than the others in the region, we serve as the hub, and what we try and do within our job centers is have a one-stop concept. So we try and house as many resources as possible into one place so people can easily access services without having to go here, there, everywhere else. The Homer Job Center serves the Anchor Point area south. They serve 4 communities in the local area. They are also located with Public Assistance and have Alaska Housing Finance with them as well. We have 2 full-time employees down there. Actually, we're just getting ready to interview for one, so it's a one-person office right now, but we are getting ready to interview for another because we're suffering the same thing that many of our employers are, a lack of staff, a lack of people, and trying to fill those gaps. They're well seasoned and integrated into the community. I know Homer Chamber was here. I know Alaska Adult Education is here. They're probably very familiar with the Homer Job Center and the partnerships that we try to facilitate. I'm reluctant to hit this again. Okay. Alaska Jobs is our job bank. It's our clearinghouse. It's a big system. It's heavily advantageous for both job seekers and employers. Employers can go in and find people. They can do candidate searches. They can look at resumes. They can reach out to folks that might be interested in positions. Job seekers can also go in here. They can explore labor market. They can explore training opportunities. They can apply for a job. They can build a resume, all the wonderful things. As far as job center resources that we have available for the community, internet access, that's very common for folks that don't have internet at home or maybe have slow internet. They come in, create resumes, cover letters. We do a lot of copying, and we still have a fax machine. And that, I think it's from the 1970s, but it still works. So we're going to keep that around. We have tutorials. We do proficiency testing for both employers and for job seekers just looking to improve their skills. One of the things we brought on recently was the ability to do the GED test within the job center in coordination with Kenai Peninsula College. We're doing that. Hand testing for TSA, interest aptitude testing. Our staff is absolutely wonderful. The goal of our staff is for somebody walking in through the door to walk out having a better day than when they walked in, whether that's simply directing them how to file a PFD, how to access Social Security, or if they need to come in and do a resume mock interview, so on. We'll take it all on because oftentimes we are a hub for people that don't know where else to go or don't know how to access other services, and we can get them pointed in the right direction. We identify obstacles and barriers to employment and make referrals. Many of the community services that are in here right now, we have a great referral system back and forth because very rarely one size fits all for the customers walking through our doors. And then we can expertly guide and assist in occupational research efforts. I'm leaving all of the labor market data and so on to Sam. We're going to focus on the job center pieces, so those are coming. Just wanted to let you know. Career support and training services is a really important piece of what we do within the Department of Labor. We have 5 workforce development career planners in our office. We administer federal and state grant funds. How many people in this room know that the Job Center has scholarship funding? Not very many. So this is something we definitely want to change. I like to call it our best kept secret that we have never tried to keep a secret before. And that's within career support and training services. So we administer federal and state grant funds to get people to work. And I'll explain about that a little bit more. We help individuals who might need training or support to obtain self-sustaining work. We're not training people for $12 an hour jobs. We want people going into occupations where they're going to be self-sustaining, where they're going to be able to pay for their basic living needs and hopefully some extras in high growth occupations. We also help individuals who need to acquire new skills to obtain or retain employment. A lot of our local oil field companies will bring somebody on and tell them you have to have a CDL in a year if you want to keep your job. Guess what? We can help pay for that and keep somebody in their employment and moving up the ladder. We also give employers the opportunity to tap into a pool of workers who are good candidates for a job. Maybe you find a diamond in the rough and this person needs training or certifications. We can help with that too. There's a few ways we can go about it. One of them is on-the-job training, and this is just a basic example, but for a 6-month period, we can pay for 50% of somebody's wages while they're learning a new job through the on-the-job training program, as long as the employer has an ability to train, and the expectation is the employer keeps that person on year-round full-time. Apprenticeship is a huge part of what we do. We have current apprenticeships with Kenai Fire Department, the hospital, CCI, not to mention our union-based apprenticeships, electricians, chiropractic assistants, dental assistants, dispensing opticians are some of the apprenticeships that we actively have going on the Kenai Peninsula right now. So our grant funding programs can assist with a lot of things. We realize transportation, childcare, housing are issues everywhere in the state of Alaska and even nationwide. So we can help with things like job search assistance. We can help with things like transportation to an interview. We can help with meals while somebody is in training if they have to especially go off site. We can help with housing, clothing and safety and gear are just some examples. There is a wide variety of things. I could talk about this all day, but I don't think you want me to do that. Relocation assistance. So unfortunately, sometimes people find jobs outside of our community, whether it's in the state of Alaska or out of state. If it's self-sustaining employment, we can help somebody move to their new job in order to help them get there and start the process of employment engagement and getting their life on track. Training assistance, tuition books, fees, things like that for short-term certifications, vocational schooling, college programs, apprenticeship, on-the-job training, and like I said, tuition, books, and fees. We can mix support services in with that. We can pay for room and board at AvTech to assist somebody going through a training program. We can buy tools. I don't know if you guys are familiar with apprenticeship and how much an electrician or a carpenter, how much those tools cost. It's usually $1,500 a pop. We have young apprentices that don't have that disposable income to pay for tools. We can help pay for those things to get them on track. This really hits home for me. This is what we have done with our training funds in the past year, the past fiscal year. So since July 1st of last year, we're not even finished yet. Career support and training services has financially affected about 153 individuals in our area in some capacity, and through the course of their training. This is just training information. This isn't even necessarily support services where we might have been just providing job search to somebody. This is what we're doing as far as training, trying to fill the gaps of employment on the peninsula. AbTech has facilitated 51 trainings in IT, culinary arts, industrial electricity, diesel heavy equipment technology, refrigeration, maritime, plumbing and heating, and welding. They are also working with us in a large capacity on related technical instruction for apprenticeships like dental assistant, surgical technician, and electrician. This is a really big deal. These are things that we funded and sent folks over to AbTech to bring them out of training as skilled workers and to engage in employment in the community. CDLs are big right now. Kenai Peninsula Driving Instruction, Alaska Driving Academy, Northern Industrial Training, and Southeast Trucking and Training, 69 trainings for commercial driver's licenses in this fiscal year alone. We also support union apprenticeships, as I mentioned, the tools, Alaska Teamsters, Alaska Carpenters Training Trust, Alaska Joint Electrical Training Trust, and Alaska Laborers have all received, their participants have received funding from us in one capacity or another. This is just our region, and these programs are statewide, so there's a lot more besides just our region. And through the University of Alaska system, places like Kenai Peninsula College, Charter College, Alaska Pacific, and Alaska Career College, 17 training plans have been funded through our office for nursing, business administration, radiologic technology, CNA, certified nursing assistant, welding, outdoor leadership, and computer systems engineering. And then last but not least, what has come up recently in our community is the aviation industry. We are seeing so much more of that. Obviously, Alaska, we have a lot of pilots. I think probably per capita, the highest concentration in the nation. Don't quote me on that. But aviation is very much alive through the various vendors that you see up there. We've combined for 20 trainings in certified flight instructor, commercial multi-engines, and commercial pilots, helping people on their journey to commercial pilots. So the trainings you see here, if you take able-bodied seaman, for instance, there are several certifications that go into becoming an able-bodied seaman. It's not just one. So while we mentioned 153 individuals, there's more than that in there because some of those credentials took multiple pieces to gain that certification. And so besides that, what else are we doing in the community? The Job Center, part of the misnomer is we're the unemployment office or we're the welfare office. We hear that all the time. That is not what we are. We are heavily engaged in our community. On average in the region, and again, that's from Valdez down to Kodiak, 250 individuals on average, and tens of employers are walking through our door. We are providing services to each and every one of these individuals. They're not coming in to access public assistance. These are people we're actually dealing with. We participate with Kenai Construction Academy in vetting applications, providing the advertising, and so on. Kenai Construction Academy is a pre-apprenticeship opportunity for folks to find out about occupations like welding, carpentry, introduction to diesel, electric. They're just pre-apprenticeship opportunities where somebody can get a feel for an occupation and find out if they want to pursue it. And then we engage them with funding if they want to pursue it further. We are in the schools, and we are in the schools quite a bit lately. We participate in the Job Shadow program, and we're there even before Job Shadow, providing resume assistance, mock interviews, things like that in our local high schools. We're hopefully going to be expanding that program out to so high. Those talks are happening besides just KCHS. We are meeting with career and technical education, and we're actually working on a multi-provider wraparound for some kids at SoHi that are going to be working at Epperheimer this summer. So we're getting them training, we're getting them the pieces that they need to have that work experience. We are in Wildwood and Spring Creek. We provide reentry services to those that are coming back out into the community. Our second chance citizens, preparing them and also engaging them so we can make them skilled workers and successfully bring them out into the community. Promotion and facilitation of apprenticeship, you heard me talk about that. We're visiting employers. We are facilitating Alaska Adult Education in the Job Center, where people can take the GED test or find out more information. We're making referrals. We have annual training academies, bringing community resources together. So we're sharing information, avoiding duplication, and also blending and braiding our funding. Because again, very rarely one resource can cover everything. We just had our annual Kenai Peninsula Job Fair in the beginning of April. We had about 400 people walk through our door, engaging with over 50 employers. A lot of them making on-the-spot hires, which is a really great event. Customized recruitment events, we do mini job fairs. If you are an employer and you want to know more about our services, please engage us, because we can do a mini recruitment for you right in the job center or even on site. Rapid response activities take place when a business is closed down. So we are there providing resources to the employer and mostly to the employees to make sure there's a smooth transition while we re-engage them in work activities. Incumbent worker training is, Director Lecomte is going to talk a little bit about that later, but that's a program we have for employers where they can keep their workforce competitive, and we can pay for a trainer to come up and work with employers. 100,000 foot level of that program. If you want to know more, please let me know. Disability awareness, service availability. We have a lot of assistive technology available. Veteran services veterans are our priority. So we always like to see them walking through the door, and we have some specialized services. We participate in events like Project Homeless Connect. We provide letters of support for community partners so they can also receive grant funding. And then we have, so for childcare, one of the interesting things we're doing in Homer is actually bringing Thread down there and meeting with community members that might be interested in opening a childcare facility, because we know that's a big need statewide. And then we also have space open for free tax services through AARP. Social Security is in Kodiak on a weekly basis because they're on the rock, they're on the island. It's really hard to fly out to Anchorage and try and access services through Social Security, but we facilitate that as well. And then those receiving unemployment are randomly selected to come into the job center through reemployment services orientation. So we're helping them get back on track and again, engage with employment. So the Job Center has a lot of things going on, not just the unemployment office, not just the welfare office. We have a combination of services. We hope you use them. So I like to tell people I get paid either way, but we want to see people coming through the door. We have a lot to offer. So thank you for that. There's some nice scenery to leave you with of Kenai Peninsula area. Just absolutely gorgeous. I'm proud to live here, proud to be a part of the community. And thank you for your time today.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Well, here's my slides. Okay, so my name is Sam Tappen. I am an economist with Department of Labor, Research and Analysis Division, and I'm based up in Anchorage, so I'm always glad to be able to drive down to the Kenai and enjoy the scenery along the way. All right. So today I want to talk about a few things. First of all, kind of just talk about how we got here in light of our recent recessions, kind of talk about some of the trends that I'm seeing in both the Alaska and the Kenai economies, our jobs forecast that we just recently released for 2024, what we're seeing coming down the pipeline, and some opportunities that I see uniquely for the region. All right, so starting big picture, this right here is the labor market for the US economy. You can see during the pandemic, we had that big drop, but since then, things pretty much look like they're back on track. So all in all, we may have stuck the soft landing. Alaska, on the other hand, looks a little different, doesn't it? So we're going to talk about why that might be. The first reason is, even before COVID started, Alaska was kind of on shaky ground. Looking at just the job growth from the years 2014 to 2019. Oh, I double pressed. There we go. You can see total, our jobs were decreasing by 2.6%, which was 48th among all states. Our private sector was decreasing by 2.5%, 48th among all states. Our state government was decreasing by 12.1%, last among all states. And our state university employment was down 18.8%, again, last among all states. So we weren't in good shape to start with. So this is looking just specifically at the state's jobs from 2010 forward. And you can see we peaked in 2015. That was when the economy had the most jobs at about 339,000. Then the 2015 recession started, really precipitated by oil prices kind of going down to about a third of their previous levels, and that rippling through the whole economy. And then we started to recover in 2019, getting back about 1% of our jobs right before the pandemic hit, and we've been recovering since. You can see we're just about to back to 2019 levels, and when we go over the jobs forecast, you'll see we expect in 2024 to get back to that point, but I just want to remind people that we still have some ground to make up even once we get there. Just for context, this is a comparison of our two most previous recessions compared to our major recessions in the state's history. And you can see, both in terms of job loss and duration, they're not insignificant. So, looking specifically at the recession we had following the pandemic, in 2020, we lost 27,600 jobs. You can see most of those were leisure and hospitality and trade, transportation, utilities, sectors which are tied pretty closely to the visitor industry, but also lots of oil and gas, government, and many other jobs. Here's the same metric for Kenai Peninsula Borough. The Kenai lost about 1,360 jobs, which is 6.7% of the total employment. So a little bit better than the state. It wasn't as bad of a shock to the economy. In fact, some industries such as construction and professional business services didn't lose any jobs at all, which is kind of shocking to me, actually. Okay. So looking a little bit further forward to today, this is a chart showing from 2019 through the end of 2023 where we still stand. The statewide economy is still down about 4,300 jobs from our 2019 levels. You can see that's mostly in oil and gas and local government. Also significant deficits in information and financial services, but these are sectors that were on a long-term decline before the pandemic and before the 2015 recession, mostly just due to changes in the way services are delivered online and automated services taken over. On the other side, you can see we have actually gotten back above water in transportation, mostly through air cargo improvements, bridge, federal government, and healthcare. Again, looking at Kenai specifically for this metric, Kenai's economy has actually already completely recovered to 2019 levels and added an additional 1,150 jobs. So it's a pretty stark contrast to the state economy overall. You can see that almost all specific industries have recovered, with the exceptions being education, mining and oil and gas, and financial activities. So, to talk a little bit more about oil and gas, I assume most people in this room already know it's been a rough decade for oil and gas in Alaska. We peaked at 15,300 jobs back in 2015. And now we are at less than half of that, at 7,400 jobs. You can see that after both of the recessions, the industry really struggled to recover and has not made up a lot of ground. So that's something that's certainly pulling down the state economy as well as Kenai. Okay, so now I'd like to go through a few macroeconomic metrics on the state's health. I realize it's 9 a.m. and not everybody gets out of bed in the morning for this, but just take a sip of coffee and I'll walk you through it. So, this first one we're looking at here is gross domestic product for the state. In 2023, you can see that we have surpassed 2019 levels, so that's looking good. That red line is oil prices. Obviously, we're pretty closely tied to that because that's such a large product for us. But there's other dynamics going on as well. The important thing to see here is that for about the last 8 quarters, we have been growing and pretty stably and steadily. So that looks good recently. This is personal income growth for all of the state of Alaska. You can see in 2021, we had a pretty big jump, and that was due to all the COVID relief funding, things like the relief checks and expanded unemployment insurance, expanded child tax credits, but has come down since then, since some of that funding ended. And we were pretty worried at Department of Labor that we might see a pretty big drop in 2023 as that funding dried up, but actually things have remained pretty stable. So we're encouraged by the numbers that we see here as well. And that growth in income is important because everybody's favorite topic here, inflation. Inflation is still continuing. You can see we had pretty massive inflation in the state in 2021 and 2022, but it is coming down really significantly in 2023. The thing to remember about inflation is this is the growth in prices. So even though the growth is slowing down, prices are staying high and they're going to stay high. So it's just something that we need to get used to. I mean, deflation is possible. You saw we had it in 2020, but that's really not healthy for an economy and leads to a lot of other problems. So that's not something that really we want long term. So after looking at these 3 metrics, we can see that the state's health is kind of trending in the right direction the last few years and looks like things are looking up. So the question is, what's holding us back at this point? And the answer is an incredibly tight labor market. So this is the unemployment rates for the state and the United States. And you can see they're both at historically low levels. Last year, the state average was about 4.2%. Here in Kenai, it was about 4.7%, so not much higher. And one of the big reasons for that is that the state's labor force has been shrinking for a long time. You can see in the last decade, we have 34,000 less people who are able to work in Alaska than we used to. And that's a big problem. About 19,000 of that alone is coming from Anchorage, which has a significantly worse labor problem than the rest of the state. And you may have already noticed this isn't actually a new problem. This isn't something that the pandemic caused. Labor force participation rates have been going down both in the state and in the nation for well over a decade. In Alaska, we peaked back in 2000. So it's not a new trend. I know a lot of people think this was brought on by the pandemic. Some of that was due to people leaving the labor force a little bit earlier than we expected, but overall, this is not a new trend. Okay, so the first big reason for that is kind of the population issues that we talked about. People are aging out. For a long time, the biggest portion of the labor force was the baby boomer population, which is disproportionately large. However, they are aging out. Generations aging in are not as large. So we're seeing reductions there. And And then Alaska net migration is the other big problem. As you can see, for 11 straight years, more people have moved out of Alaska than have moved in. And that's something that obviously is not new, but it's a real issue. I mean, I'd say as an economist, I remember this one chart because this is what keeps me up at night. It's really hard to continue to grow your economy when your labor force is shrinking. But to bring the mood back up a little bit, Kenai Peninsula Borough does not appear to be following this trend. In fact, you can see here the last 4 years, ever since the economy, the Kenai Peninsula Borough has had positive net migration. In fact, even at record levels the last 2 years. So it looks like maybe Alaska is following the trend we're seeing in the rest of the nation, where after the pandemic, people kind of flocked away from the urban centers, wanted affordable housing, larger housing, wanted to be able to telework and not have to commute into the big cities. So it looks like that may be occurring here, and it's a good sign. Okay, so to get into our jobs forecast, statewide, we expect in 2024 to add, 5,400 jobs, and you can see that's an increase of 1.7%. That growth rate's slowing down a little bit since the pandemic ended and everyone surged back to work, but it's still positive, and we expect in 2019 that the in 2024 statewide employment levels will get us fully recovered back to 2019 levels. So this is looking industry by industry where we expect that growth to occur. You can see we expect strong growth in mining, oil and gas, construction, also some decent growth in professional and business services and healthcare. And then comparing each of these industries from their 2019 levels to now, you can see that healthcare, construction, transportation, we all expect these to be significantly higher than their 2019 levels, but also oil and gas, information, finance, local government, those don't expect to be recovered to 2019 levels in 2024. All right, so here are the main drivers that we really see pushing some of the growth that we are projecting for 2024, being extraction. We have some really big projects on the horizon that some of you probably already heard about, really significant new federal funding money coming in, and again, another strong visitor industry season. Okay, so some of these extraction projects we see coming for non-oil and gas mining. You can see up here we got the Graphite One mine, which recently received federal funding to fast track their permitting. The Monchaux mine started operating this winter. That's a mine near Toke that's sending their gold up to Fort Knox, just north of Fairbanks. So a lot of trucking jobs as well for that. The Red Dog mine is looking at an expansion that could extend its mine life for another couple decades. On the oil and gas side, we have Willow and Pica, which are both really significant operations up on the North Slope that have already started development this winter. Those are going to be starting production probably around 2029 and 2026, respectively. And then the federal funding. This includes funds from Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, and also some significant increases to more familiar sources, such as the Statewide Transportation Improvement Plan. This does include some large projects like the Port of Nome expansion, which is going to be all told about $500 million. But for the most part, this is a lot of just small municipal and utility projects scattered all over the state. And then our visitor industry. 2023 proved that there still is a really significant demand for visiting Alaska. It's still a premier location. Uh, we really shattered all of our previous records in 2023, and we expect a pretty similar season this year. Okay, so now I just want to talk about some specific opportunities that I see for Kenai based on the information that I'm seeing. And the first one is I think Kenai has an opportunity to leverage this historical federal funding that is coming in. The best way we can do that is by partnering with all the stakeholders in your region. You can see here on the map, this is the Denali Commission's project database, and there's all these different yellow points where they know a funding going in, and each of those points actually has multiple projects. So I think it's going to be key to take this one-time funding and use it to partner with everybody to take advantage of state grant and loan funds, commercial and industrial partners, charitable foundations. Make sure you bring everybody in and make the most of this one-time funding. Okay, second, I think there's an opportunity for Kenai to market to job seekers outside their region. This is a map. We do these for every area of the state, and this shows net migration between all of the boroughs and census areas within the state. You can see that nearly every region is blue on this map, which means that nearly every region had positive net migration to Kenai in 2023. And that's not something that we see on most of these maps. It's actually pretty striking. You can see pretty significant in-migration from Fairbanks and Anchorage and Ketchikan, losing 22 people to Southeast Fairbanks, which I thought was a little odd. You might want to send someone out there to figure that out. But overall, this is a pretty good trend that really stuck out to me. And I think Kenai should be making the most of this. Start marketing to job seekers outside of your region and outside the state. Per a lot of the national surveys that we're looking at on worker preferences, and even the AEDC's local talent survey report, we're seeing that workers are more and more interested in non-monetary benefits of the job. This includes things like good quality of life, housing, low crime, outdoor amenities, work-life balance, flexible schedules, remote, all things that I think Kenai could really advertise their strengths in. So I think it's something that we need to be talking to people outside the region about, and employers should be specifically writing these things into their listings because it's things that people are looking for. Also, I work and live in Anchorage, so let's not let it out of the room that I'm telling you to take their workers because that could be awkward for me. Okay. And the last opportunity that I see is kind of on the flip side of the coin of the labor market. Right now, job seekers have incredible bargaining power in this economy because there's such a shortage. Even at like entry level, we're seeing that workers are being offered way above minimum wage and signing bonuses, which is a first. So if you expect to get good talent, you're not going to get good results with minimum wage. In the trades, there's incredible demand. We're talking to big companies hiring for all these major projects, and they're telling us, well, we hire as many Alaskans first as we can, and then we have to backfill with people from out of state. So there's definitely, some of these companies are even offering to send people to trade school just so that they have a local workforce. And we also know that anybody who does a job on a computer has the ability to telework from outside Kenai and bring their dollars back here. Also, in 2021%, about 18% was teleworking to other regions within the state, so that we know that the infrastructure is there for them to take advantage of some of these large projects on the North Slope and elsewhere. Okay, I always invite people to sign up for Trends. You can get a free electronic subscription. It's a great way to kind of keep your finger on the pulse of the state economy. and here's my information. Happy to talk to anybody about anything that interested you, things that you're seeing here locally. There's my phone and email, and I'll also be here the rest of the day. So feel free to come talk to me. Thank you.